We're on the morning break in the questioning of Joe Batty, a anti-fascist activist who was targeted by the undercover police officer Carlos Araki. I'm joined by Dan Gilman, who was mentioned quite a lot during this morning's evidence. Yeah, as seems to be traditional with all the questioning of activists, we started off with a lot about the personal history of the witness, talking about how he became a socialist when he was 14, how the National Front came through school and started leafleting, and how that was his introduction really to fascism, how he went on to study fascism amongst many other things at Ruskin College in Oxford and going to the University of Kent, I believe is where he met you, being involved in the setting up of Kent Fascist Action Committee. We've then seen a whole bunch of reports by Carlos Araki about No Platform, the anti-fascist group of the late 1990s, early 2000s. There's an insinuation in these reports that anti-fascist activists visited the homes of fascists, which is, there's no evidence given. It was pointed out by Tim Salisbury, who is the junior counsel to the inquiry, who is doing the questioning, that maybe if the word disrupt was put in place of attacked in the reports, then possibly they might be considered truthful. It's a fairly big difference.
Yeah, I mean, time and time again, as Joe said in his responses, this is all about Carlo justifying an unjust placement. He puts in language, he puts in activities, he makes up whole events that just didn't exist, just to justify a completely unjustifiable placement. I mean, there was numerous events that Joe quite rightly bats back and said it didn't happen. So it's very clear that, again, Joe's facing all questions trying to present that we were legitimate targets in some way, between us, legitimises all the unjust thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one example was we had the British National Party's so-called festival. I mean, not really a festival for someone who goes to our festivals. That's not a festival. The Red, White and Blue, which took place in Welshbourne in 2001. As pointed out by Joe, Carlo didn't even go on the minibus with the rest of the No Platform activists to the event. So his report, what's that based on?
It's clearly made up. As Joe directly clearly said, there was a minibus full of us, not this national organisation of political bus activists. It's just not true. It's just another example of a made-up accusation thrown against Joe.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's quite interesting. I mean, I was at that the counter demo to the Red, White and Blue Festival in Mid Wales. Living in South Wales, wasn't that far away. A minibus full of us came up from Newport, and I don't recognise what was put in Newport either. So
no, I mean, the whole point was to remove this idea that fascism is legitimate. You know, to have these nice family festival where everyone has a nice weekend drinking beer, eating sausages, discussing politics. The idea was to just make it clear that you can't legitimise fascism. There was no attempt to go around attacking individual fascists. We didn't have no political desire to do that, no organisation to do that. It just wasn't really about it. It was about just being clear how fascism in this country isn't a nice weekend affair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, something which really comes across again, which is something we've seen over and over again from the reports by undercover police. There is a real desire by these officers to justify their deployments by inventing this spectre of a much more serious amount of conspiracy to commit serious violence than was ever actually the case.
Yeah, and this idea that the minute that they keep saying Joe became the national organiser and is going to take it underground, I mean, the language there is just nothing to do with the reality. Joe just being another organisation of a group trying to defend meetings, defend communities. It's underground sort of secret cells, more made up nonsense. And don't forget that within 24 hours of all the spy coppers, there's another spy copper sat in an office on there, reading newspaper every day, sole job to rescue them. Did we ever discover them? Well, the only one ever discovered, I think, was Mark Cassidy.
Mark Kennedy,
and then there was a dinner party where he told to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, so why you need this another person paid for 24 hours a day to go and rescue them? It's another expense that isn't justified.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's quite wild, really, the levels to which they... I mean, it's that exaggeration of perceived risk, which goes all throughout the existence of the Special Demonstration Squad. And we've seen again at the inquiry with the extreme levels of anonymity and privacy that so many of the officers managed to gain. We'll be hearing from, the question of Jason Bishop will be happening fairly soon. He has managed to get away without appearing in person because he's managed to exaggerate the perceived risk to him of appearing at the inquiry. And it's a nonsense. This exaggeration of perceived risk of left-wing activism was part of it. It kind of gave the SDS some sort of prestige, it seems. And by doing so, they justified the huge amount of money that was spent on the unit, their own overtime, the largesse that they got.
But let's not forget that millions of pounds that we spent on this year public inquiry has only been spent because of the misbehaviour of the SSO.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shouldn't also be forgotten that at the same time as all this was going on, the far right was engaged in very, very serious violence. Things which manifested itself in the Copeland bombs in London, groups that went on to murder an MP, to murder a police officer, to conspiracies to do all sorts of very, very serious political violence, which wasn't being countered by the police at all.
But was being countered by Joe Batty.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's really the key thing, is that we should be thanking the likes of Joe Batty for tireless public service in opposing a genuine threat to people's lives coming from genuine political extremists who are engaged in genuine violence.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah, we should go back in and we'll sign up again. We'll do another longer video at lunchtime. Please join us then. Bye for now.
All right.